rock and roll.
The anthem of Seattle.
We are so awesome. It's like amazing. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Not much. Another day in paradise.
Oh, no kidding. I still have this frog in my throat. I'm barely getting my voice back. It's horrible.
You know, it's probably just a touch of COVID from MWC last week. I'm sure.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You're joining too many conferences, guys.
Yeah. Hey, man, how's it going, Afzal? It's great to have you.
It's going well. It's honestly, it's a big privilege to be here, like with giants like David and Rob and
Wow. Giants.
Well, we're glad you're honored.
And that's Rob, because he invented IoT when the dinosaurs were walking the earth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Al Gore.
We all owe it to Rob.
Yeah, right.
No, we truly do. Yeah. So
good to see you, man. I haven't seen you since Barcelona. It's been a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah. Back ever since I got up on stage and was an asshole to everyone.
Yeah, you were, man. You really were. It's really uncool.
Yeah. Well, I have a reputation to, hold here. So.
What's just the reputation you want to have to drive business for yourself there, pal?
Yeah.
But what about David? Because I never met him on a conference. I never saw pictures on LinkedIn that he's joining an IT conference. So probably he's the only one who's generating real IoT revenue, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The consulting engagements, they are going very, very, very well.
Yeah.
So there's that. We pinned that for IoT. But no, I've been off the road since pre-COVID. I've paid my dues on the speaking circuits. I'm good. I am good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So welcome everyone to IoT Coffee Talk. And today, there's so much to talk about, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot to talk about, but let's start off with your book, dude.
Yeah, it's time for you to
know
your book.
And by the way, it's about damn time you came on the show. I don't know why you kept blowing us off, man. That's like not nice.
All right, can you show us a picture of your book?
Yeah, that's the bad thing. I didn't bring a book.
Oh, no.
Maybe you have one, right?
No, we do. We do. Jeez, where did I put it? It's on my nightstand, man. Yeah. It's on my nightstand.
Not in this room.
Rob, I'm sorry, but you still have the pre-editing.
I do have the pre
issues, and so.
Did you make?
But a new one is coming.
Did you make very many changes to it after the one you gave me?
No, but I just found out when someone was editing the version that you have, Rob, just found out that I invented some new verbs and English words. So I just replaced them with official English words.
Congratulations on inventing some new words. You know what? Why not?
The thing is that when English is not your native language, and of course IoT is an international business, but I speak English like all the time, but then with Germans and people from Poland and people from the Netherlands, and then you don't get the official English. You get a way of English that non-native English speakers understand.
Yeah, you know what, man? You got to stop hanging out with Paul Pinot too much, man. That'll get to you.
You know what? Don't worry about it. Here in America, we don't speak official English either.
No, we don't.
I was just gonna say, I don't know that we could tell the difference if you had written it in Dutch and then just copy paste and Google translated it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, anybody have his book? Nobody?
Let me
go upstairs and go grab it.
I mean, I have David Copperfield here, but
oh my god,
that's not going to help us.
Yeah. So hey, man, Afzal, you were at Things Industries. You were manning your adorable little booth, fronting your book. How was it? What did you think, man?
That was actually very funny because the book I wrote it on my own behalf. I mean, it's probably when our CEO is going to read it, he will probably fire me. So I really wrote it on my own behalf. But I was at Things Industries at the Things conference, not on my own behalf, but on IoT Creators, which is part of T-Mobile, aka Deutsche Telekom. But the funny thing is that we didn't get any leads there, but a lot of people, they took my book.
Oh my God.
It's like free books, USB sticks with malware, and
exactly.
No, but you know what? This is the way I think it's going to turn out, dude. So people are going to read your book. They're going to go, oh, crap. All right. This is some real stuff. This guy's not blowing smoke up our butts.
Is it this book?
No, Rob. Wrong book, man.
Oh, my God.
This one? I thought it was this one.
Oh man, what a disaster.
God, this place is a mess.
I think people who tune in will think like this is the same story as the IoT forecast, like it doesn't exist. This book of Afzal. no one's got it.
So,
I'm being very serious. It's like you read something from someone who has perspective, who's gone through, has been in the trenches, has battle wounds, and there's something honest about it. And my impression from the things industry is I think people were forced to get really honest with things. And you saw a lot less people throwing up like weird crap, like this aspirational weird stuff, and talking more about solutions. Obviously, I mean that's something Vinky really was pushing in his speaker agenda. But it was pretty cool. But we'll see how far it goes, right? I mean, but that's that first step in trust, right? And I think trust is a differentiator. So you might be doing T-Mobile a favor by putting out a book like that. You know what I'm saying?
I believe so. I believe so. I know that. Some people can take it personally, and it's not rocket science what's in the book, right? I mean, you've read it, Leonard. It's
fun.
There are no. What is it? Very complex or difficult strategies that I wrote down there. It's just about leaving the comfort zone. And the comfort zone of an operator. An operator is usually a traditional and corporate organization, and we all know that the corporate organization is focused on exploitation. And I believe that IoT, it's not about exploitation yet. It's still about exploration. No one knows yet how the ecosystem will finally work.
No.
What kind of use cases will scale and which one will fail, and no one. I mean, it's obvious today which connectivity technologies are ahead of the others, but the game is not over yet. There are more questions than answers, and that's. I think it all boils down to that. A corporate organization usually has like a corporate identity which says we are the best. We have a lot of experience. We know everything. And the thing is that we need to become more humble, because we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers. And that's actually the main thing. That's the main thing.
Well, hey,
Yeah. I think it turned out the same way the cloud did, dude. In the early days, even though we've been doing this connected stuff, IoT-ish stuff for decades, when IoT kind of got hot in the last decade or so, the telcos, the mobile operators, they did come out swinging early on. They pushed hard, just like they did with the cloud when they thought that the cloud belonged to them because they own the networks. And they got their asses beat down by the software companies. And so then again, IoT came out, and I watched all the big players spend a lot of money building stuff, including the one that David works for, and they just got they got beat down hard by the software companies, just destroyed. And then they all got out of that space, except for lots of just little things. And so it's funny when I remember seeing your book, I was like, well, actually, the telcos have been irrelevant in IoT for a long time already. Actually, they're not significant players in the IoT space. And people who live in the world that the two of you live in go, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, the network is one component of an IoT solution. And for better or worse, customers, when they're doing IoT projects, it's usually one of the last things they think about. They really don't think it's a big deal. They think it's a commodity, in fact. Now, sometimes that bites them in the ass because they picked the wrong connectivity, and then they realize, oh, crap, I've painted myself in a corner, and now I can't, But the reality is, we know what the leading way of connecting IoT devices is. It's Wi-Fi, it's Ethernet. For personal stuff, it's Bluetooth. Most IoT happens indoors, not outside. Yeah. And indoors, people, because of money, cost, they're going to piggyback on an existing network if they can. That's what I would do. It's just business sense. Yeah.
James Blackman wrote an article a couple of days ago coming on from the things industry, the show that you guys attended. And, there's a paragraph where he says that it's basically what's wrong with IoT and telco is the business model, not the tech. And as usual, not speaking for my current or future employer, I think there's a hint of validity to that, because here's the thing. So you grab a network that cost you real dollars to deploy, build, design, etc. But here's the thing, and we hear this from the network effect. Like, hey, once the network is there, the infrastructure is there, putting things on it, makes you real money. But at some point, we lost our way, and instead of just saying, hey, we have this really good network that gives you connectivity, it's cool that it's a commodity, but if you have a mobile use case, you want to use us, we could have left it at that. But instead, someone in marketing, started just, these are the things that we can enable. And yes, utility, you have this network that you've paid for and you've invested in, but, this one's better. Don't worry about the $70 per module increase per device. We'll talk about that later. And little by little, we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We just started doing 1,000 cuts, and eventually, we died. And then, now Afzal we give him all the free content to beat up Telcos, and it's kind of like, hell, don't tell it like it is. It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
Yes. But on the flip side, the margins are good, because this is infrastructure that we continue to sweat, and whether we're getting beat up or not, the dollars are coming in. And it's really for conversations like these where we get to ask the question of so who's making how much? And then we break it down, right? Is it connectivity? Is it the solution? Is it the application? Is it consultancy? You've got good shops that are focused on one use case. Say, for example, I won't name drop, but, there's a telematics company doing really cool stuff out of Denmark, and they are popping, and they do that one thing very well, but their pitch is it's a solution, not a component. So, anyway, we always talk about this. This is fun. And I think Afzal's book highlights, a lot of things that are good to discuss over coffee and drinks.
Yeah,
exactly. Because this is kind of like a book club that we have here, and we're here to promote your book because we want it to be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yes.
And so that's our job today, is to help you.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the.
Doesn't sound exciting, so we call it IoT Coffee Talk, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's funny, when you talk about how much everybody's making, because I always talk about this perfect storm that came together that made something that's kind of been around take off for everybody. Because it was, and we owe a lot of this to the smartphone revolution, because the smartphone revolution was bigger than anything we've ever seen, ever. And it drove the creation of lots of new sensors, making things smaller, making batteries So while people were making the bleeding edge of lots of different smartphones from different vendors, that had a side effect of pushing down costs of microcontrollers, of sensors, better battery. All those were side effects of what we got from the smartphone revolution. And then along the way, because the smartphones, everybody wanted one so bad, all the telecom companies had to up their game in a giant way and build much better networks because of the iPhone primarily. And so we got to take advantage of that. Oh, and this other thing happened around IoT, particularly in the cloud. The cost of storage just started to drop and head towards zero, which was another thing. Because what's IoT about? We're getting data and we're piling up big piles of data, and it used to cost a lot of money. Well, now it doesn't. And and there was this other thing, analytics. You got to apply analytics to the data of some kind to get some drive and insight, right? Well, it used to be you'd have to, only giant companies or governments could afford, the multi-million-dollar high-end analytics packages that have been around. But then all of a sudden, what do we have today? You can go to apache.org and download all these analytics packages for free. Now, you still have to know how to use them, but they were free now. So I put all this stuff together, and that is what caused this perfect storm. And it made it accessible to so many people. And I think that's why so many of us dove in and have been riding this wave. Obviously, lots of people in the software space said, hey, this looks a lot like middleware I've built 1,000 times. I'll just do that again.
Yeah, that's what it ends up being, It's like, it's funny. But
honestly, it still works, right? Middleware, especially
it does.
for Telcos. Yeah, it's when you want to get out of the connectivity slump. That's maybe. It was my first step.
Yep, smart. Yeah, that's the only way that you can. It was something I learned from Intel Innovation. It wasn't something that was directly said, but it was something that was hinted at. Is middleware is vital in getting whatever the hell you're trying to do inclusive within the. I don't want to use ecosystem. Out there. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what middleware does. You don't wait for interoperability. You don't wait for standards. And actually, it's really funny. Everyone talks about standards being a catalyst for innovation. I would argue no. Standards can actually hold you back. And, it can stymie and stifle innovation that would happen in proprietary fronts. And, like we've talked about in the past, Rob, I think that was, Apple is a perfect example of how truly disruptive technologies, frameworks can drive the industry to pursue standards because they want to be able to play in the game. And the easiest way to be a participant is through the middleware, right? It's actually an accelerator rather than waiting for standards. And I already know a bunch of people in the Open RAN community are starting to realize that that you don't wait for standards. You maybe take a baseline of it and then you just make it work. You apply whatever aspects of it that are ready, and then make the other stuff that's not ready ready for whatever it is that you're trying to do. And that's innovation that happens on top of, let's say, the slow ass moving standard, which most of them are. Think about the consortiums that come together to establish these standards. It's just a bunch of folks with conflicting interests that are oftentimes debating and arguing and slowing the process down, right? While folks in the periphery are waiting for the standard to gel so that they can, quote unquote, innovate on top of it. So, anyways, I think it's a counter view that I think is important to consider, because I think everyone's getting too, like, drinking too much of the standards Kool-Aid.
We need more standards.
Yeah, more.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we need conflicting ones.
as you guys were talking, I went into my box of the past, and I found remember when you used to take technical courses in paper?
On ecosystem?
No, but I was looking for this, and I quote, because we've talked about this so many times, but I knew I had a paper copy. Quote, "We envision a world with 50 billion connected devices in 2020, where everything that benefits from a connection will be connected." And this was Rob's cousin at Ericsson in 2011.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
just twist the knife, man. Just twist the knife. Yeah.
It did not age well. And we've always beat that up here, but I don't know that we've shown a paper copy of the claim.
So there it is. It's real.
There it is.
Oh man, thank God Bill is here.
Oh my God.
He's outdoors somewhere.
It's all about middleware, baby.
I'm at my new house.
Oh my God.
Look at that.
Nice.
Look
it
at
looks
you.
sunny.
Out there.
It looks more like a friggin' farm, dude.
It does. Until you turn this way.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, dude.
Well, Bill,
over.
if you're gonna come in remotely and show us your house and not invite us, you're just being a jerk, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? I am. I really am.
Yeah, you are.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, you guys were absent when I actually did a layout walkthrough with Mark and Leonard.
Yeah. Oh my God. Dude, I just did a podcast. I was on a panel on smart homes, and I was like thinking about that episode the whole time, and I did talk about privacy and, engineering. I mean, smart home is an engineering project. You don't DIY it, No. If you're going to get anything out of that investment, right, outside of just some trivial, marginal convenience, it's got to be done by people who actually know what they're doing. And
you look like you're out in the Texas Hill Country, dude.
I am in Dripping Springs.
That's awesome.
Oh my God.
That is awesome.
Look how far away the next house is. It's like in another state.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
and
that's not another house. That's his guest house, Leonard.
Oh,
we're talking about here. Okay.
I love it.
There's nothing but green belt behind me.
That's good.
All right.
Good.
So how do you get internet coverage over there?
Oh, it's all fiber.
Yeah, it's all
I
fiber.
have fiber. I am outside right now connected to Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. You know what? This is the IoT Coffee Talks episode, Cribs episode. And
Yes. Exactly. It's the Cribs episode. Exactly.
So what's your Wi-Fi setup? So you've got fiber to the home, so that's awesome. And what are you using to propagate it? What's your kit?
Well, so right now it's just an Asus Wi-Fi 6 router with a modem and separate modem in bridge mode, so I can have the router serve up all the Wi-Fi. What's going to happen, and like right now, we just moved in Monday, and so like right now everything's in shambles, and I haven't even had the other company come out. But when I do have that company come out, and this is what I showed Leonard, there is a full knock upstairs.
Oh, it's ludicrous, man. It's ridiculous. Oh my God.
I'm so loving that.
Now, Bill,
really
by
hoping
knock,
to hear that
do you mean like a traditional network operating center, or do you mean a big screen with a PS5 and bunch of beer? What are you really?
Oh no. So I mean, I won't even say that. I mean, I'm sitting here looking right now at, and you probably can't see it through the window, but there's a 90-inch screen TV right there. There's a 75-inch sitting on the other side. There's a 55-inch in my closet. I mean, in my office. there's a 85 upstairs in the game room, and there's a 140-inch in the media room.
So, folks,
Whoa!
if we ever needed a use case as to do people make money in IoT? Thank you, right there, folks.
Smart cities. Yeah.
I mean,
Here's the guy.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Here's the
Wow.
guy.
What I mean,
Oh, man.
what I mean by knock, and I promise you, once it's all set up and everything, we will do a private episode of the connected home.
Straight
What I mean by
up.
knock,
Dude,
there's
straight
a
up.
rack. There's a rack and a half up in the closet of networking hardware, video distribution, audio distribution. There's 43 speakers in the house. There's I can't even go through all this stuff. It took us almost a half an hour just to walk through the diagrams.
It was ridiculous.
Oh
It was
my
like
God.
multi-layered. You know, you had the electrical, you had the wiring, you had the, all the
The lighting.
Yeah,
the
the
cameras.
lighting. Oh my God, it's just insanity.
That's awesome, Bill. You're killing it. And we'll be there in about a month. A little less than a month, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, so look, shameless plug. There's at least three of us are going to be speaking or presenting or participating in IoT World November 2nd and 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Come out and see us, please. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah. Okay.
We might have to do a coffee talk live.
Yeah.
There,
I think we should.
Yeah.
Leonard's not going to be there, though. Are you going to be there, Leonard?
No, I think I have a conflict.
Lame conference or something.
Yeah, I'm at Lenovo that week, I think. Yeah.
He's gonna go get a free ThinkPad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
For
just
for
before
the
you,
smart home, for the smart home stuff, what are are you just going like power over Ethernet for stuff? Like, are you it's mostly wired, wireless? Like, what are you gonna end up doing?
I have 3.5 miles of Cat 6 running through this house.
good.
And then I have a full Wi-Fi. I mean, we'll say Wi-Fi 6, but I have wireless APs all through the house. And
wait! How come you don't have private 5G with CBRS? I thought everybody's doing.
When I raised the question about internet coverage, I was really hoping that he would say I'm using a SIM from T-Mobile and it works it's load balancing with helium and
no, you're not going to hear that. You're not going to hear that.
Dude, that
This guy's a natural.
Bill has already made like $6.70 out of helium, and he's just waiting. He's just waiting for it to go up.
God.
That's it.
So I've got to go back to what Leonard was talking about. I have to disagree with Leonard, but also agree. So just before you jumped on Bill, Leonard was bashing on standards. We talked about middleware and standards and IoT, and Leonard was saying standards are a bad thing. And I agree and disagree at the same time. The part I agree with, especially around IoT, was, and we would often say this.
What?
Huh?
Because David was quoting you.
Yeah. But we would often, if you wait around for this new standard for IoT to come along, you'll probably miss the whole mega trend. And so I just remember, we talk about building middleware. When I was at Microsoft, we're building Azure IoT. What are we doing? What are we all doing? You have to support all the standards. If you want to win, you got to support them all. Because there's lots of standards out there, and everybody loves their standard, and they think theirs is the best. You got to support every one of them. That's why Kepware got popular and got acquired by PTC, because they had all those drivers, all the people who could connect to all the bizarre industrial equipment. And all these people worried about real-time stuff when most things are connected by a serial port. They don't even know what they're talking about. So there's that. So the standard stuff is kind of BS. You just got to go out there. That being said, standards have driven value all over the world, because if it wasn't for this standard that allows every cell phone from every maker all over the world to somehow magically connect and roam across the planet, if it wasn't for that standard, we would all have fragmented cellular networks using all different kinds of technology. which is actually what we had in the early days. Yes, there you go.
IP, baby.
In the early days, you know,
Yeah.
you pick your
I think the
country, you pick your
misconception-
state.
The
You had-
misconception with standards is that many people, and especially executives and CEOs in the IoT world, they often think that standards will maybe do the magic trick. You know, that will, if we build standards, then IoT is finally going to scale. But if you look at standards, usually it adds only value when the market is already mature. It usually adds value after scaling.
Well, and it comes down to it comes down to how you implement it, right? I mean, you start talking about some of these other layers. Again, we're at the layered conversation. Are you layer 1 through 3? What standards are you using? What RFCs are you following? And then how did you implement those? Because that's what's going to get to your interoperability, which is the real problem. Well, I mean, why can I take a video on my Android device, send that video to someone else that is using an Apple device, and they go, your video looks crappy, but it looks great on mine?
Yeah. By the way, Rob, it's awesome when everybody, we have a point of disagreement, because otherwise it'd be boring as shit. So,
since Marc Pous is not here today to say, I have to disagree with you, I'm substituting for Marc today.
Let me agree to disagree with you.
I think we should run a poll to our global audience that's now, in the billions. I think we have 98% of the world population. Outside of Bill, who's using Android? I love when Bill tells me that he's going to take a video on his Android phone. Dude, that's why you get the green check mark, not the blue. Because you're an Android.
Bill's a green bubble.
Yeah, look, that's why I don't text you, man.
I'm looking for openness. That's what I'm looking for.
If you want it open, we should have stuck to good old single band analog. 99 numbers, a battery that would last me 4 days, and it rocked on that 2G network for years. Okay?
Yeah.
And check this out. Bam! Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, just don't touch it while you're talking on it, because you're gonna miss a few packets.
Well, that's the first version of Daz, right?
So, could you make the case that today, if our modern smartphones still had an antenna, would things be better?
Oh gosh, no. I think antenna. No, no. I think after Antenna Gate, we all remember that one.
You're holding it wrong.
You're holding it wrong. Yes, it's the users are dumb. You're holding it wrong. It's not my design. No, jokes aside, specific,
that was supposed to be funny. Okay.
No, I think the antenna specs from the modules up, that has gotten just leaps and bounds better than even a decade ago, specifically in terms of antennas being optimized to connect to whatever available resource they are. And Rob, to your earlier point, yes, it was driven by smartphone design. You have a more expensive device with more capabilities, but let's not forget that a lot of the folks that are making components and modules and chipsets for the smartphones, they also have an IoT module business, and I think we've benefited from better antenna design, not only from location but obviously size. So yes, we've seen progress, at that piece of hardware for sure. So that way you can grab your IoT doohickey as you wish, and it's still going to phone home.
Phone home.
Please.
Gosh, Leonard also bashed the word ecosystem, and I'm going to have to disagree with him.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you? Because honestly, that is exactly coming back to my book. I'm doing some sales and promotion here, but that's exactly what the telco industry is missing: ecosystem. I really envy Laura One, but you all guys already know that. Yeah, I mean, there is an alliance. There is like the opinions and knowledge of narrowband IT and LTM, cellular IT. It's super scattered. Yeah, there is like one one guy claiming that like EDRX and PSM, they have no use. Yeah, you can just shut down your device. Then there is like a huge healthcare OEM who did a lot of research and claims that you need to use PSM. Then there is one, a solution provider who claims that there is no difference between LTM and narrowband IoT. And that's exactly because we are not, telcos are not part of an ecosystem. Yeah, we have something which is called GSMA, but honestly, that's just a political organization. I know, and that's where we can learn from the LoRaWAN ecosystem. There is an alliance, there is one opinion, there is one framework. This is how it works. This is how you get the best results when you want to save like battery consumption. This is how you get the best results when you want to have deep indoor penetration. Yeah, that's what we don't have in the cellular world. We don't have one opinion. We are not sharing knowledge. Everything happens in silos.
Yeah.
So I would love to be part of an ecosystem.
Right.
I am personally offended here. Look here, you people that work for little companies, not worth $750 billion. Let me show you. Let me tell you what's up. It's so easy for you to go out there, get on stage and talk about ecosystem. Well, that's hard AF to actually deliver. You know why? Because the customer doesn't care. The customer wants, Ace, I have a problem. Give me a solution. The end of conversation. So the ecosystem, you know what they really want to know about the ecosystem? That you can assemble a solution with a bunch of parts and deliver it in some sort of commercial agreement that they can accept, okay? That's what the customer gives a shit about. Operationally, having an ecosystem, that's a labor of love and is really, 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 really tough because of what I just said about the customer. So to defend the telcos, current and future employers out there, it's really hard to defend the telco because what part of the ecosystem can I control or influence? I can influence to how I build my network, but that's not how everybody builds the network. It's really hard for me to influence pricing. I'm going to have to get on commits, and I cannot get on a commit if I don't have the commercials to back them up. So eventually, what we try to get around on is, hey, let's deliver an ecosystem where a customer or someone who's looking for a solution can be assured that we'll bring all the parts that it takes. So, it's really hard when, again, the customer doesn't care about the ecosystem and we have to pitch it as if it exists everywhere. There's very few true ecosystems out there that you can say, I'm going to go to this place, whether it's a physical place or it's a platform, and I'm going to procure all the parts that I need. Hyperscales have good ecosystems because I can grab a debit card, buy an instance of something, and buy a bunch of things and put them together and pull an ecosystem to do something. Very different in the physical world, very different in the telco world. And now I'm going to calm down and see what reaction we get.
No,
what is it then?
Go ahead.
What is it then that a telco? Because we all know how telcos are struggling, and we all know how much they are depending on IoT because it's super important. It's essential for their future relevance. Yeah, it's the next thing, but we know how they struggle. So if it's not building or becoming a part of an ecosystem, what is it then, David?
Well, so again, if I go back to that, the customer doesn't care about the ecosystem. Why should I care about the ecosystem? I'm going to care about delivering a solution.
Yeah.
And if I can run a business properly, then I'm going to have the functions in place, aka sourcing, to be able to put something together and architect it and deliver a solution. So it's not that the ecosystem don't exist. They do, just not in that romantic way that sounds really good on a stage or PowerPoint, that there is an ecosystem. I guess that's what I'm just trying to hype out of it.
I think, though, that when you guys went to the Things conference last week, there was a big wall. There's all these people there that illustrated the power of that ecosystem. Because you're right, customer doesn't care, but the person who's putting the solution together cares. And so the fact that with LoRa, I've got an ecosystem of all these devices that are already LoRa enabled and gateways. There's so many of them, and it makes it easy for me to put together. Alternatively, in telco land, where everybody's saying 5G is going to save IoT, I cannot find some cool wall where I see all the 5G IoT devices out there for my ecosystem for me to assemble.
Because there's only 7 of them.
Well, yeah. I mean,
That's it. That's the difference. There's not a big ecosystem of cellular IoT devices.
but it's
They're
still
already
very
out
early.
there.
Yeah, but it's early still, right? I
Well, is it early?
Well, no,
I'm talking about any
5G,
cellular.
yeah.
So hold
5G,
on.
yes.
No, just to no, there's very few 5G IoT devices out there. They are oodles of LTE based, one flavor or another devices out there today. I just wanted to clear that serious note in the middle of my joke.
All right.
But
And then, of course, what's the next part? The cost. How much dinero, right?
yeah,
Anything with a cellular module just gets a whole lot more expensive, right?
Yeah, but we've talked about like if it comes down now, and again, it's very different if we're talking about a handful of devices for deployment or something that could scale into thousands, because that's when someone, again, whoever's putting this together, head of ecosystem, head of standards, head of sales, whoever is going to say, man, if I can deliver the same outcome on LP1 versus, I don't know, narrowband IoT, but my device cost is 70% cheaper here, and the outcome is the same. Well, that's just a business decision.
oh yeah,
That is a no-brainer. But when the tables are turned, when it's like, man, LP1 is cheaper, but for this use case, for the customer needs this one thing or two thing that is inherent to cellular and cannot be delivered by LP1, then it's kind of the same thing. And my last point is, no customer in their right minds is going to spend $1 million to solve a $10,000 problem.
yeah.
But they will do it the other way around.
That's the quote of the day.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, one of the things that I thought was really cool about your booth, Afzal, is you're a cellular guy going to a LoRaWAN conference, and you had that little sign, right? Do you remember? You're acting like you don't remember that sign. Look at this guy. Oh my God, that was hilarious, right? It's like, don't hate me because I'm a cellular guy. But, I think the thing is, we have to probably recognize that for the operators, a lot of the opportunity is going to come from heterogeneous network requirements at the edge, or for your IoT solution. So, one of the things that they were they were starting to gin up over at the Laurel, the Things conference was satellite, right? And so you had this camp saying, "Oh my God, LoRaWAN is dead," blah blah blah, all this nonsense. But we probably have to think in terms of where do all of these different technologies fit in solving a problem, and not necessarily get into sort of these religious, tribal arguments. To your point, David, it boils down to economics, right? And there's probably a place for cellular, and it may not be at the very edge of the access network. It might be backhaul, it might be front haul, whatever your architecture looks like. But, a lot of this techno-religious thinking, I think, really silos our perspective, and clouds the opportunities for us to look at, well, how do we clear some of these bottlenecks and take advantage of all the benefits that these different technologies present at any given point in time, because they're all evolving, right? I mean, LoRaWAN has come a long way. 5G is going to go a long way. And figure out how to solve problems, right? But more importantly, I think looking at the roadmap and factoring longevity and settling into some of these, repeatable solution patterns that can solve problems for industries. I think that's the tough thing to arrive at. And we can't get there because we become so techno-religious about stuff. And that's why I thought was really cool about your booth, Afzal, and your presence there. You know what I'm saying? And I think everyone should kind of take a second look at why we were even there. Other than trying to sell your book, which is probably going to be a catalytic factor in the future.
It makes so much sense. I mean, there was a time, within the world of operators, and I think Rob and David, you can second that LoRaWAN was like, it was considered as swearing, right? When you talked about it within the telco organizations. Yeah, and it was like a very, it was always tension when it was about LoRaWAN. I think we all now start to understand that we need to embrace it and we need to find out how to become part of it. I know, a lot of people had higher expectations from LoRaWAN, but if you compare it to cellular, we are very far away from the position that the LoRaWAN ecosystem that they have achieved. Okay. And yeah, it makes so much sense to for us to be there. And actually, it sounds a little bit cliche, but I think I really hope.
What happened?
Hope that other operators will do the same.
What was that?
You dropped out, dude. We lost you. You said, I really hope, and then you cut off.
Yeah, that other operators will do the same, because cellular will not survive without LoRaWAN. That's for sure.
Wow.
Dude, you do know that this is being recorded and this will be preserved, right?
Cellular will not survive without LoRaWAN. That just happened.
I think I have to disagree.
Now, well, hold on, Bill. Afzal, you're in the Netherlands, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're smoking some really good stuff. You're smoking something really, really good. To come here and tell us that we're not going to survive without you. But Bill, you start. Go ahead and disagree.
Well, so first off, the largest piece of infrastructure next to the roads and highways and things like that is the cellular infrastructure across the board, period. They're not going away. Do they need to be augmented and changed? Yes, but it's not always technology that does that. There's this term called digital transformation that affects processes and people and organizations. That needs to take place as well. The technology in and of itself is fine. It just is not the panacea for IoT. It's not. But I don't see it being displaced in any way, shape, or form anywhere in the next century. LoRaWAN, on the other hand, while it's emerging and has been emerging over the course of the past 10 plus years, still has the same challenges that it had when it started. Now, granted, it has found some places to live, such as water metering, gas metering, and things like that, things that are not always on, but there's still the same set of people that are making the money. So Semtech's making the money. You have your people that are doing your cloud gateways that are making the money. There's no real solidified business model that is going to say, I'm launching and I'm going.
I don't think that we are disagreeing. Maybe I had to pick my words differently. Let me try it again. Look, telcos and operators. But seriously, telcos and operators, their DNA is pulling cables and installing antennas, right? They never created a market. Yeah, like the smartphones, the market for smartphones and the need for smartphones, it was not created by T-Mobile or Vodafone or AT&T. That was created by Apple and Samsung and some others, right? We just delivered the infrastructure. Okay, and Rob was also there. Yeah, and if you look at and IoT, IoT it's still very often a latent need. Some people need it, but they don't know yet that they need it. Many business need it, and they don't know that they need it. And I don't know that some business are out there and they need it. Yeah. And who is developing that market today? It's not Vodafone, it's not DT, it's not AT&T, because we are just trying to sell SIM cards and tell holistic stories about 5G and self-driving cars. That's what we're doing. But who is making the thought of making assets and business processes connected today? For us, that's the things industries are doing that. Semtech, Actility, LoRa Alliance, they are making the thought and the idea of making things connected, and gather data from unconnected assets. They are making that idea and thought like mainstream in the market, and we benefit from that. That's what I mean actually. That we will not survive without the market development activities that the LoRaWAN guys are doing for us.
Right, and you mean specifically in IoT, right? So just to be
exactly.
Right.
But but back to the quote from James Blackman that is the business model. Afzal, you'll be happy to know that many moons ago, I still had hair in my head. I remember embracing. I embraced LoRaWAN because I would try to sell all these cellular connected devices to a farm in the middle of nowhere, and the per device cost was just killing any ROI. But I did okay, just saying, what, you can do LP1 here, and I'll just be the backhaul, and I'm going to sell you one connection or two connections for. So I embraced that personally, early on. But to your point is that if from a business model perspective, success for IoT at a telco, as long as it's being measured in how many connections we got, it's not going to be great. But there's some folks that I get to work with that are simply looking at how much money did we bring in. Back to my comment of the network is already there, and I just put more things on the network and the margins are good. So the conversation does have to shift. But we keep hiring young people, and young people are going connections because they don't know yet. But
well, they learned all that stuff in B school, right? Friggin'
but it's also the dilemma, right? I mean, telcos are. I mean, we all know the story. SIM sales are still increasing, but the margins are decreasing. Yeah. And on one hand, like usually an SVP or head of IT at an operator, on one hand, they need to save an old business and they need to build a future business. So it's like driving in a car and you are constantly looking in your what is it called? The mirror to look back, Yeah. That's what we constantly need to do.
Yeah,
and that's also why we stick to connections.
But one of the things that was really this is by the way, we had our first, I guess it's our first, not really our first, IoT Coffee Talk on tour at the Things Conference. So Marc Pous, whose name I've been butchering for 4 or 5 years now, on with Vinky, and one of the things that dawned on us is that there's a lot more talk about the consultative aspect, right? Professional services, going in there, solutioning, not just approaching the market with devices and connectivity, but looking at problems, whether it's smart lighting, and then selling through the value proposition of whatever it is that you are engineering in terms of a solution. And that part's super hard, but you're starting to see people talk that lingo, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's important. And I know that the guys at the Things industry, and I mean, they've been on our show, right? This is crap that we talk about all the time. It's like, dudes, you guys have to stop talking about connectivity. It's about how do you architect and deliver on solutions. And I'll make a real quick comment about ecosystem. Here's the problem with ecosystem. When people start to jump on this ecosystem train, it's funny what you see on their website. You go there, and then there's this tab called ecosystem or partner, and there's like a gazillion companies on there, right? Because everyone feels like they need to have as many logos as possible. And when I see that, and this is maybe something for vendors out there to contemplate, when you have that many partners, and I used to do partner management back when I was in PwC, right? That means you're not doing your job right. Because what I used to do is we used to review partners and we would cut them if we thought there's nothing there for us, there's no synergies, right? Or they don't bring anything to the table that really benefits our go-to-market. And something to consider, when you have that gigantic ass list of people on your ecosystem and partnership page, it really makes me wonder, well, can you really deliver with all of these guys? And how do you handle the complexity of coordinating all these different ecosystem guys in delivering a solution for your customer? Because it takes a lot of energy. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's my problem with how people think in terms of ecosystem, why I avoid the term, because I see what people do with it, you know?
You know, put with that context, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? I mean, that's so I think the takeaway is have a big ecosystem. Don't tell anyone you have a big ecosystem.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but yeah, I think that's correct. And I don't think that the customers benefit from having an ecosystem, but I think like we, you know, IoT players, like the horizontal guys, we can benefit from it because now, especially in the cellular world, we do everything in silos.
Yeah. I mean, and then that's a different problem. Maybe it's not an ecosystem issue. That's just
this is funny. This is actually the whole ecosystem. You know what? If we were to imagine a customer with a successful IoT deployment, we all have those stories. You know, ROI was good, the solution was great, they loved it, right? If we just think of that customer, and now we think, would a bigger ecosystem have benefited that customer? I think we would just go like, no. We built what they needed. We had a good, business case. The ROI is there, and they're done. They don't need another ecosystem of anything. So maybe I'll just go, quit my job later if there's no ecosystem. What am I doing?
Hey, luckily for you, Leonard and I, while we were in Vegas, it occurred to us that we should create a new thing called IoT Coffee Talk Advisory.
Yes, services.
Yes, because we keep, maybe this is happening to all you guys, we just keep running into people. People come up to us on the street in Vegas.
Oh my God.
They're like, you're the Coffee Talk guys,
Yeah.
It's like, we've been consistent. We've been at this now for over a couple of years, and it's starting to, and so I think it's time to create our own advisory
side hustle.
There you go. Yeah, we're changing hearts and minds, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because people want to pay for the bullshit that we're selling.
No, people buy bullshit. They won't buy what we're selling because it hurts. It's painful. It's like the pill, dude. So
think about it. It could be real. It could be your next job.
Yep. See?
No.
I'll see. This is what getting on IoT Coffee Talk is. It's future job security.
Exactly. Maybe.
Oh my God. Okay, who's going to take us out? By the way, Afzal, congratulations on your book. We'll have to have you come on again and just talk a little bit more about it. Dude, you inspired some great conversation. Love having you. Jump on anytime that you want. Just bother us, okay?
Exactly.
You're on.
I'll do that for sure. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. An absolute pleasure. Who wants to take us out?
I'll do it.
Yeah.
So, folks, you're here. You've made it to the end of another great conversation where we showed you quotes that did not age well. You heard comments that someone's going to have to absolutely take back in a matter of years. We talk about things that do not deserve to be connected, like this air pump for my air mattress. You hear it all here in IoT Coffee Talk, where you come for the truth, advisory, and true value for the Internet of Things, only from yours truly right here. So, thank you for listening in. If you haven't told your mother, your cousin, your neighbor, next door guy, the guy at the gas station, www.IoT IoTCoffeeTalk.com. Subscribe, like, hit the bell, baby. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Clubhouse, Crypto, Helium, all that stuff. We're in it. We got it. We're killing it. We're here. Thank you for being here, and stay safe out there. Secure your IoT devices. Change the admin passwords. You're welcome.
Believe that.
Boom. That was the best outtake ever.